All right, looks like we're live. I totally forgot that that the beginning bit's going to be on YouTube. So happy to have you guys if you're watching the VOD. And yeah, it's going to be the faction war that I will be playing today as the Vampire Coast. Opponent number one is going to be Felkon. And as per usual, since this is a stream, feel free to skip ahead to the timestamps if you're just here for the games. For anyone who does decide to stick around, though, I will be hanging around and yeah, just hanging around and getting my advertising done on the different discords. So let me just go do that. We already got someone in chat. That's very exciting. So should be good. This could be a very short stream though. Alrighty. Oh man, all the last minute advertisements always gets me because I wake up super late. Hey, Tiago. Lots of things are good. I don't know how to respond to that, but yeah, I'm doing well. I hope you guys are. CJ, hello. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm nervous to be going up against Felkon. He is a formidable opponent, to be sure. But I'll be trying my best. I have a nice, fun build against him specifically. What matchup are we looking at? Vampire Coast against the Knights of Calidor. That's gonna be something. Felkon's playing as the sub-faction for this month. Oh boy. Yeah, so High Elves, piloted by one of the best players. But my Vampire Coast should be able to do okay, I believe. I'm hoping for at least a good fight. If I can do that, I'm happy. But yeah, we will have to see. I'm thinking with the build that I have right now, there's a chance we might just get completely run over, depending on what Felkon decides to bring. Or we could run over him, which would be hilarious. It would cancel out a lot of predictions. We smashed it last tournament. I don't know if that means I'll do well this tournament, but I will be trying my best. I am fairly well practiced too, but after this we have to go against either Chaos or Wood Elves. Wood Elves is not really a problem, but Chaos is going to be freaky. Good luck at Enticity. Hope you can face me in the finals. Oh, I didn't even realize you were in this, Biblington. I didn't take a look at all the names. Hey, there you go. Oh, you're playing as the other High Elves? No! No more High Elves. Oh, man. I do think my win rate in the matchup is fairly good, though, but up against top players, it's gonna be scary. Ooh. But at the moment, we're just waiting for Felkon. You can see Turin is in the lobby. I have my build set and ready to go. Oh boy. In other news, the the last video, my tournament stream, was actually one of the most successful YouTube videos I have ever published. It is insane. So that's very promising. I'm excited to keep exploring that path. And I'm still working on the the Tide of Battles tutorial videos. It's gonna be a bit. Oh hey, we got Shibu. Frequent viewer on Twitch, now on the YouTubes. Nice. I'm starting to transition the emotes to YouTube now. So I think it's like YouTube members? Something like that. If you're like a member, you can use the emotes. I think, but it's not fully set up yet, so yeah, there's that. But it's on the way of being set up. So lots of very exciting things. Yeah, lots of live viewers, lots of people coming in after the fact too. Just a nice dandy old stream. A long one though. It's an 8-hour video. I can't believe people stick around to watch that, but I'm assuming they're just skipping right to the battles, so should be fine. Yeah. YouTube member equals Twitch sub. Okay, cool. I saw a bit of the setup. It's like there's different levels, sort of like Twitch, but I don't really have a way to reward people for becoming members aside from emotes. So yeah, I'll keep chipping away at that. And then yeah, exciting futures for sure. Plus Warhammer 3. I'm gonna dive into that regardless of how busy I am. A lot of newer players in this. Yeah. I think since Turin is hosting these as a tournament to qualify, what ends up happening is that a lot of the like these players are definitely good, but like the people you would usually expect to fill in faction slots just might not be able to play in the qualifier, and that means that we'll be seeing a lot of newer names, but still very exciting. Oh boy. And we just continue to wait for Felkon. The bookmarks for the battles help a lot. That's good to hear. Yeah, I just have to scrub through the video a bit, and then I'm basically good. Oh boy, the man himself is in here. All right, so I hope you guys are ready for possibly a 1-game stream. Who knows? It might even be shorter. But yeah, we'll have to see. Felkon is the Knights of Calidor. For those who are unaware, that is Imric's faction. Okay, I'm good to go. Yeah, this is Imric's faction. Oh, the dragon himself. Very formidable foe. On my end, though, I am playing the dreaded Vampire Coast with their many threats. I would expect Felkon to either go Lore of Life here or the Lore of Fire, as fire magic, always very good against Vampire Coast. Lore of Life, perhaps, to support Imric. He does go for Imric. And there's not going to be any Alariel, so the possibilities for ethereal damage to do well. It's much harder to get anti-air for Felkon. So that's going to be very exciting. And yeah, we will have to see. Oh yeah, also a Lithanar. Without a Lithanar, he will run into a lot of issues too, since you do need a Lithanar to snipe out Queen Bess more easily. Hey, Butcher Bird. Thanks for the good luck, guys. I spent like a good few minutes working on this build. I practiced it against fellow ODM member Carl Harmon, I think. Or maybe it was someone else, I'm not sure, but yeah, I practiced it against ODM. It seems okay. It's not terrible, so that's a plus. You're not playing something like Skaven as you were last time, so should be much more winnable. Yeah, I really want to get into Skaven a bit more. They're a really fun faction to play, but I've never really found anything that really that I can grab onto. I know the Wolf Rats are really fun, but they don't have an insane win rate as I might hope, unfortunately. Oh. I really wonder what Felkon's gonna go for. He might go for a hard meme here. He might also go for something very meta. Because even without a Lariel or a Lithanar, you can still go pretty meta builds as the High Elves. It's just, you know, you take a caster that's flying, and then you're basically good to go. Chaos Wood Elves. Both bad matchup for Coast. Only Wood Elves. I can cheese out Chaos. It's been done before. The dreaded gunnery white cheese. So yeah, that's a possibility. Wood Elves though is definitely a terrible matchup. When it comes to Wood Elves, their rush is so scary now. You can't really account for a rush or an archer style build. That gets pretty sketchy. Turin saying start when ready. I'll just ready up then. Given it's Felkon, your bet is on memes. The Felkon meme is terrifying. When you can't predict your opponent's build, it makes it a lot harder to set up your own. The predictability of meta builds is what helps me a lot when I play Vampire Coast, and Felkon is one of the best players to come up with builds on the spot, like Dread Saurian against Skaven, stuff like that. His single entity micro is terrifying too. So we'll see. Then Alfredino beat Kafka in the Open FW faction war. That's Alfredino had to tap out. Sadly, he was something came up today, so he won't be playing in this faction war, but hopefully the next. Yeah, the list that's up right now is the current working group that we're looking at. Correct. He could not play today. But there's a lot of people that were waiting in line to qualify for the tournament, so all good. Ooh, oh man. At least with the build that I'm running right now, I don't think I have to micro too hard against Felkon. I think I should be fine. Oh man. Yeah. What else? What else? I guess there's not really much to worry about. I'm trying not to overthink it. A lot of people will look at their builds and constantly tweak it forever, and then just run into a bad matchup. And then with all the mind gaming that goes on, they just get screwed over by outplaying themselves essentially. So I'd much rather just not touch my build. You know, sit back, relax, and hope that the RNG plays out my way. I am confused. Isn't Felkon a micro machine? It's a micro and a macro machine. He can make builds that are very fancy, and he has the micro to pull them off. I think one of his strongest skills, though, is his decision making. At least from what I've noticed, you'll very rarely see Felkon make an incorrect call in a battle. So he'll know when to disengage, when to avoid fights, and so on. You either have to catch him off guard, or hope that he makes a very rare misplay. A beast indeed, but if we can take down the dragon, that would be great. Just because it'll go against the expectations of a lot of people making the predictions today. Some people, actually a good number of people, are saying my Vampire Coast will move up. So maybe if I intentionally throw the game, then then that will also ruin a lot of their predictions. But it's like a pretty 50-50 split, which is high respect for me, given that this should be an unfavorable matchup. Yeah, well, I've practiced Vampire Coast a lot, like a ton, for like, oh man, over a year, more than like almost 2 years now of just grinding out Vampire Coast. It's been a journey, and I'll be playing them in Warhammer 3 for sure. I may be one of the most notorious active Coast players right now. I know before Random Nicks would play a lot of Coast, but sadly we don't see a lot of Random Nicks anymore. Yeah, I think what, Random Nicks Even Star Probably the two highest coast players I can think of off the top of my mind. People that'll play them fairly actively, I think. Boy, man, Felkon sure is taking his time with his build though. Maybe he was not entirely ready. I do put more effort into trying to win these tournaments. In general, I don't really meme it up a lot when it comes to faction war tournaments. Like you'll rarely, if ever, see me go for bloated corpses. It's sort of just my style. Not really what I do, because, you know, I don't want to just throw games because I'm memeing, and I'm not nearly good enough to win games while memeing. But I think you guys might enjoy this build. What I set up is actually a full-on rush defense against Felkon. We'll see it in just a second. It's a bit unorthodox, but the theory is Felkon, he will likely expect a 2 gunnery white build from me. And because of that, I'm thinking I could just have a full-on rush defense. Now, of course, this army does have a few elements to make sure that I'm advancing. I'm also hoping he has a small army. Yes! Yes! Oh my goodness. Okay, so Felkon does have a small army. That's a big plus. And that means that these 4 halberds may win the game for me. Surprisingly enough. Yeah, essentially, I was banking on the fact that Felkon would go for some crazy rush build. And that the sort of defensive box, which is very unorthodox for Coast, should be pretty favored against that. Knowing that Felkon, he does like his single entities, I've gone for these Rotting Prometheans and Lamprey's Revenge. And I have no flying bats except for the standard Felkon, standard Fel bats. Also, can someone mute CJ for give him like a 30-minute timeout or something. CJ, it is not a good thing to spoil builds, man. That is not good. I'm going to leave my formation as is, since we have seen some spoilers, but that is very anti-competitive, man. All right, good luck, have fun. Felkon is ready. Let's go ahead and do it. And here we go. So, the 2 gunnery whites, they should be able to do fairly well against flying units. It looks like CJ was memeing, not triple dragon. In fact, some bolt throwers, Frostfire Phoenix, and an Archmage of Fire. Very interesting. Now, the Phoenix should be able to do decently against. Actually, there's like no infantry here except for the archers. This is a very strange build. I think both armies are a little bit off meta here, to say the least. But you know, I'm just going to continue advancing. I do have my gunnery whites, and against these reavers, I'm actually in a fairly good place. They can't really do much against a build like this. Their range shots just don't do very much damage. So that should be to my advantage. And I can simply advance as quickly as I can to try and shut all this down. Fel bats will be moving into position to shut down the archers. Pistol mob summon should do fairly good for me. I will have to heal up my caster though, as he is taking a lot of damage from the bolt throwers. And then let's see if these Fel bats can do okay against the archers. I want to stop them from moving, so I'm actually going to position behind them so that I can better slow them down. And then just advance with my army and try to jump up on top of them. Let's see here. There's a big blob engagement here, though. How's my lord doing? He's taking a lot of damage from these bolt throwers. I need to make sure that I'm dodging with him more effectively. For the double gunnery whites, Scab Scrath for the win. Should be able to kill off a healthy number of those archers as I slowly continue advancing. My gun crabs are moving up too. My lord will have to continue healing though. And I'm just going to rely on my high armor here to carry, which means that I do have to kill off these bolt thrower crews as quickly as I can. Oh man, my lord's going to have to keep dodging though. Felkon really is focusing him with his bolt throwers. Let's see here. Yep, gonna have to keep dodging there. Rotting Prometheans do get a little bit caught out, but that's not too much of a problem. And it looks like the bolt thrower crew is on the run. My lord still dodging, doing pretty well. I am out of fell bats though, which is a little bit scary. And I sort of just have to weather the storm here, which is probably the most terrifying part. My gun crabs too are getting a little bit shut down. My lord, he's still taking a lot of heat. Where's my other gunnery wight? Ah, okay, they're sort of just split up. That's completely fine though. And I'll just have to continue dodging around with my lord. Let's go ahead and get ready for a big old heal too. Continue the dodging. And then try and get him into a scrap over here. There are a lot of archers firing away and still a lot of archers remaining. So Felkon does still have quite a bit of strength left. Although I do still have many halberds, so we'll see if he has enough to actually sustain here. My lord still dodging. Nice burning head, but I will be able to dodge it, so that's very good. And I will have some scab scrats in just a moment. Now, scab scrats are very good. They can kill off archers extremely quickly. And I'm hoping that my gunnery wights can pick off a few of them. Let's see here. This bolt thrower is still a little bit scary. The crew always gonna be a little bit hard to chase down as a vampire coast. But with the gunnery wights, I should actually be able to get some pretty nice poke damage here on the heroes and single entities of Felkon. So that should be pretty good. Flame Spire Phoenix does land, but my lord can actually get into the fight here. And with the two gunnery wights and the constant poking, I think they should be able to fare decently well. My lord, he's still taking a lot of damage, but all in all, generally doing okay. Most of the archers are sort of encumbered, but we'll have to see how this plays out. Losing my lord is going to be pretty rough, and Felkon really is going for the sniping attempt on him. But we're seeing now the archers are actually running out of ammunition. The gunnery wights are still doing fairly well, and I think that's going to play out really well in my favor as we head on into the late game. As there's just not a lot of AP here for good old Felkon, just a Flame Spire Phoenix. And yeah, as long as I keep dodging with my lord too, this bolt thrower will eventually run out of Winds of Magic. I'm gonna try to save my lord by body blocking with the Rotting Prometheans. And we'll see. No, he does get hit. Gets a little bit of damage on him. A little bit unfortunate, but still okay. Where's the other bolt thrower crew? It's retreated all the way over here. That's okay, as it is very far away from the actual bolt thrower proper. And I just need to get my gunnery wights into range of some of these archers. These ones in the back that are much higher on ammunition are going to be my priority target. And then I'm just going to continue dodging with my lord. Getting ready for a big overcast in the heck to patch up all these units over here. He does take another fireball. It does hit a tree though. That's very nice. And here we go. Scab scrap time. That should take out those remaining archers. My two gunnery wights now. I'm gonna poke away at the Flame Spire Phoenix while my Rotting Prometheans move in to try and defend my lord. I need to make sure that I'm still giving ammunition to the gunnery wights so that they can consistently poke. And then these archers are so beat up. I don't think they'll be much of a threat here. In fact, this heavy crab build looks like it will be actually doing me fairly good. Ooh, nice dodge from Felkon. He does actually save a good number of those archers, but it looks like they'll be routing off anyways. And yeah, it's just gonna be my crabs, essentially. Very, very high armor. Gonna be almost impossible to kill once the ammunition actually runs out here, as I do still have gunnery wights at basically full HP. Planning for his revenge at full HP. And look at that, the archers are running out of ammunition. Now that's very good. Fireball comes in. We're not able to dodge it, but the high armor of my lord does manage to keep him fairly good. Bolt thrower crew now very much out of ammunition. Single unit of archers in the back here. Not especially threatening, as they are fairly low themselves. And the gunnery whites just constantly poking away at this flying lord. Looks like they'll be doing pretty good. Now the bolt thrower crew is hidden away in the forest over here. I don't really want to head into the forest to engage them. That seems like it'd be a pretty bad idea. And let's see. Yeah, I'm just sort of waiting for this ammunition to run out. And then shutting down that bolt thrower crew. I can slowly move up my army. Just to close the distance onto this crew. My lord, he's very low on HP, but we've sort of been trading winds of magic here, me and Felkon. So I think that's okay. Now, let's see if I can get these Lamprey's Revenge to body block. Nope, my lord takes another hit. That's going to be a bit painful. But the bolt throwers are out of ammunition. The lord for Felkon, extremely low on HP. Gunnery white, still at maximum ammunition. And the final fight does indeed begin. All the forces of the High Elves do charge in. It's going to be a big old blob fight. Flamespire Phoenix will very likely be diving in onto my lord. But we do have a Helm of Discord here. And I'll be proccing that. Getting my gunnery whites to focus on the Flamespire Phoenix. And the goal is just to take that out. My lord, he's going to pop a heal onto the Lamprey's Revenge. Just to get them a little bit higher on HP. And then I can throw down some vicious scab scraps onto these Illyrian Reaver archers. Getting insane damage on them. And pulling out the first victory against Felkon. There we go. Sweet. We did it. We took out Felkon in the faction war. Oh my goodness. This build, very interesting one, but look at that. Invincible gunnery mobs, or invincible rotting Prometheans. That's pretty hype. Oh my goodness, they did really good. And all I had to do was shut down enough archers so that they would live. My lord just dodging and healing all game. And then by the end of it, it looks like that's all I needed to do. Booyah! Oh my gosh. GG. Oh man. Felkon. Well played, man. Well played. It was, I think it was still a pretty scary build, but... Oh man. Oh man. In the end, I think my army selection actually helped me out. Oh. Oh boy. Oh boy. That was scary. Oh man. Is that what you were talking about? Yeah, I think Felkon, on army select, he didn't have enough to kill so many crabs. It was just a slow, grindy crab build. And then eventually did take him out. Oh my goodness. All right, sweet. So now we transition to the next part of the stream where I go over, where I restream Turin's thing and just sit back, relax, and wait for my next match between Wood Elves or Chaos. And I'm thinking the likelihood of me dying to the Wood Elves is pretty high, so we'll see how it plays out. Crabs are really meta right now. The Gunnery White version is. Yeah, the Gunnery White version is super hard to take down. They have constant poke damage, so in a long game, they'll just be hitting you for 300 damage every few seconds. It's a pain to deal with. All right, so here we go. Oh, whoops, I forgot it plays ads on the restream. There we go. All right, nice. All right, so yeah, feel free to go to Turin's stream. I'll just be sitting back, relaxing and chilling, getting comfortable. Alright. Oh man. Double gunnery whites are meta in every single matchup. Yes, that's correct. They were the hidden OP in that we never even knew about. Like, I was going gun build for so long, and I just thought gunnery whites were terrible. But it turns out they're actually just OP. So that's yeah, that's something. CJ, you're gonna be sitting back here. Cool, cool. Ah, man. Now, interestingly enough, if Felkon had gone for a triple dragon build, he might have been able to win it there. Just because if you have enough power to kill off the single entities, there's not much he can, like, there's not much I can really do, right? If he kills off my gunnery wights, all I have are a couple bombers and some zombies. So honestly, a triple dragon build would actually win it, I think, against that type of coast build. Would you prefer Wood Elves or Chaos? I prefer Chaos, but I think Wood Elves is a bit more exciting. The Chaos matchup has sort of gone a bit gross as of late with the Vampire Coast Kite. Yeah. Vampire Coast Gun Kite just annihilates Chaos like no one's business. Sorry for trolling at the beginning. Yes, I would very much appreciate, even if it's trolling, I don't know if it is. And then it puts me in an awkward position, but as long as it doesn't happen again, I'm okay. And while this Turin stream plays out, I'm just going to be setting up my own army. I'm thinking it's going to be Wood Elves, though. I've played against Call Harmon. He's very scary. One of the top in the World Cup, I think, too, so I gotta make sure I'm on my A game here. Let me see what map we're on. Myself and Call Harmon. Let's see, it looks like we're gonna be on Karak Bufdar. I think that's a pretty flat map. Let's take a look. Yeah, quite flat. So that's pretty good. No insane vanguards. That's always a plus for me. And for this match, yeah, it's going to be Call Harmon versus the dreaded Bengaloo Chaos Warriors. They are a little bit harder to kite than Norska because of their shields, but we'll see how it goes. Call Harmon does have a fairly cavalry-heavy kite build against Chaos. I think he has a few infantry troops too, so he should be able to have enough ammunition to kill this Chaos army. And we're also seeing Treekin mixed into Call Harmon's build. Now, this is something I've experienced myself. The Treekin actually are pretty they're pretty interesting. They're really hard to kill, and they actually do grind down Chaos Warriors fairly quickly. Wardens of Sithrol too. Those are the spear unit, I think, the ROR. Yeah, it's an interesting build, but it seems pretty nice. All right, I'll be back in just a quick second. All right, and I'm back. All right. Beastmen against Norska, two of the worst factions. Oh man, they were made for each other. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out. The map is fairly small for Call Harmon, so it does mean that his kiting potential is hindered. It is hindered a bit. Although I think they were supposed to play on Galbaraz, but what can you do? Yeah, but we're seeing right now the Chaos forces, they are able to basically stop any disengages. So Call Harmon really only does have until the edge of the map before he runs out of kiting space. He could diverge and try to sneak into the forest, but that gets a little bit risky when your arrows get shut down by the trees. So I don't think he'll be very keen on heading on into the forest, and he's just going to be trying to get as much damage as he can, focusing on the Chaos Knights with his range units. A very good choice. And as if the Chaos Knights do die, his Glade Riders can do pretty good in melee combat. They can take out wolves, and they can take out cheap infantry too. Now we're seeing the wolves getting ready for a big dive in on the Wood Elf forces, all getting into position. They do actually take a few shots though and retreat away from the cavalry that does come on in, which means that these range units are going to be holding for a little bit longer. However, the Chaos Knights, very high HP, do sneak in. Will we see a net? Possibly the net has already been used, but a huge collapse in on the Glade Riders. They pull forwards, but that's towards the Chaos Infantry. However, there's not a lot on the front line for Chaos, which means that the Wood Elves might even be able to push right through the center and then kite through the space that Chaos has just advanced to. That would be definitely very rough for Chaos. A huge Searing Doom though does drop down, sort of slows down the range units, but actually doesn't do too much damage. And it's sort of just coming down to this big cavalry engagement in the backline. Spears and Treekin do move into support, but it seems like it's a bit too late. And it looks like it could be pretty good for Chaos here, but honestly, probably not, just by the looks of it. Yeah, we are seeing the Chaos Infantry is just extremely battered here. And without enough infantry, the Wood Elf melee forces might even be able to win it here. We'll have to see. Chaos Knights are the secret sauce that wins you the game. Well, maybe not in this case, as they did get pretty battered. There's only one Chaos Knight left. But we do have Sartorial on the Chaos side, and we'll see if he's able to hard carry. He does have Terror and a ton of missile resist. So we'll have to see if he can just grind it out in the late game. But there is I think a Durthu over there, and he's gonna put a hurting on Sartorial if they do get into combat. You have the same build except chariots instead of dogs. Not a bad choice. You do have to make sure that they, both units don't get shot by arrows. We're seeing a final second collapse in from Chaos, but at this point, you know, they have shut down all of the range units. But do they have enough to face off against the melee troops of Wood Elves? That is a lot of spears and Durthu, plus Treekin. I don't know if it's possible for Chaos. I think Chaos Knights aren't the worst cavalry in the game. If they had healing, they would actually be okay, I think. I'm sure we can think of some cavalry that does worse than knights, but none come to mind right now, so you may be right. This is going to be a pretty close battle. I think the thing that would be the worst for the Wood Elves right now is that they actually didn't kill a lot of the Marauder Horsemen. Many of them actually managed to survive in this situation. And ooh, it's gonna be sketchy. It's gonna be sketchy. With so many Marauder Horsemen alive, what you end up seeing is that they can actually take out Durthu and the Treekin over the course of the battle. They still have a lot of ammunition, and range units are extremely efficient if they're able to fire for the entire battle. So we'll see if Durthu has enough to actually win it out here. The Horsemen have taken a lot of damage, so I think I'd still bet my money on Chaos though, unless we start seeing the Horsemen rout off a lot more readily. But I think even 2 units of Horsemen at decent ammunition will be able to take out Durthu. The Spell Singer of Life too will have to get taken out first, however, to make sure that Durthu does not get healing. But Sartorial's definitely going to be good for his Plague of Rust, although he may be running low on Winds of Magic at this point. Still though, Powerhouse Durthu doing very well. Sartorial a little bit beat up, but look at that. We still have Chaos Knights with Lances on the Chaos side. That's going to be pretty good. But what about everything else? What about everything else? The Treekin are getting pretty beat up, but they're not down yet. Durthu could use a Sword of Death too. Huge AoE onto all those units, and it drops Everything takes insane amounts of damage, and that's going to be pretty bad for Chaos. You can't pull out of it either. The damage will just keep on ticking. And the Treekin managing to hold too is even worse. Now it's just going to come down to those horsemen and whether or not they actually have enough ammunition to kill Durthu. And at this point, it looks like maybe not. I was saying earlier that they could do pretty well, but with no support, it's going to be a little bit scary. Plus, they still have to kill the Treekin. So I think my money now is on the Wood Elf side, although the game was still very close. Had a couple horsemen managed, a couple more horsemen managed to survive, I think Chaos could have had a chance, just hitting Durthu with javelins the whole game, but at this point, seeing the forces now rout, and yeah, brutal Sword of Death indeed. You got to be really careful about that. Although there wasn't a whole ton Chaos could have done there. Sword of Death, it is a very, very strong option when you're dealing with a majority of melee troops. I think the Chaos Knights are gone too. And the balance of power just goes more and more in the favor of the Wood Elves. Very unfortunate game for Chaos, because it means now I have to play against Wood Elves. Oh boy. It's gonna be scary. But we'll see if I'm able to scrap it out. He should have chased everything off for the balance of power instead of shooting Durthu. I think so. I don't think he would have won because of the balance of power. You need quite the advantage to do well. And a lot of his units were beat up already, so I don't think you would get an army losses on Durthu. But I think not chasing off some of the Way Watchers did come back to bite the Chaos a bit. The Way Watchers, I think they finished off a couple of Marauder Horsemen. And possibly the Chaos Knights. I'm not sure exactly what happened to them. And here we go, the big final engagement. Now, we have seen before, we've seen Imric kill Sigvald without taking a single hit. Means it's not impossible for Sartorial to kill Durthu without taking a single hit. All he needs is absolutely spectacular RNG. And it looks like that's what Bengaloo is going to be going for. He does route off the Spell Singer. That's definitely a good step in the right direction. But can he cycle charge Durthu? With this matchup, do you typically plan more for a rush or Daka lines? For what? Wood Elves? I think either way, either option is pretty common. So I'm not entirely sure what I would rather go up against. Both of them are terrifying though. We'll see if I can make it though. If I do manage to win it, that would be quite nice. I hope I will be able to shut down the dreaded Wood Elves of Call Harmon. Although the match is still fairly close. If Sartorial does actually land a few good hits, we could actually see Durthu routing off. Yeah, Coast versus Wood Elves. Yeah, it could go either way. It's been a while since I actually played the matchup, since I usually ban it nowadays. But here we go, the final engagement. Sartorial and his mobility against an angry tree. Sartorial with his massive combat stats, 70 melee attack. Actually, that's not too terrible, but he doesn't have a lot of AP damage. So we'll see. He's taking quite the beating right now, but he is unbreakable, which means only the last hit actually matters. Durthu, good choice routing off the mobility so that Sartorial can no longer cycle charge. And this is, I would say this is like a over 99% chance of the Wood Elves winning here. But maybe in 1,000 games you would see Sartorial winning this engagement. And there we go. We'll see. Ooh, the Marauder Horsemen do actually come back. That is fairly nice. Durthu, still with over double the HP of Sartorial. Oh man, this is so rough. Chaos, they nearly actually pulled it through though, but Durthu's a beast. He is not gonna go down lightly. Chicken versus acorn. I don't know, Durthu's a pretty big acorn. I think Warhammer does actually have a giant acorn though, right? There's like something like some giant world tree or something. Got dropped an acorn and it's like super magical. So perhaps Durthu is reasonably sized to be called that. And once again, the zoom in. Who will get the better RNG? Will it be Durthu or Sartorial? I've honestly already started looking away and started setting up my Wood Elf army, if that's indicative of anything. But who knows, maybe Sartorial has gone a million hits on Durthu, but no, he gets domed by a good old left hook from Durthu's arm, and that's gonna be it. I think Bengaloo played very well. He got Call Harmon more on the ropes than I did in our practice games, but sadly not enough. Still not bad. Sartorial did pretty good. He got Durthu down to half HP, so that's not too bad, but GG. A world tree? Do you mean Knife Ears Holy Oak of Ages? Yeah, there you go. Oak of Ages. I'm thinking like Tree of Life, or there's too many large trees in fantasy. What am I supposed to do? So cool. We have like what, 6 more fights before I get to play next. That's gonna be pretty crazy. I'm wondering how that'll play out. Let's see what we got. Dwarves against vampire counts, lizardmen and greenskins. So honestly, that's not too terrifying. I'm okay going up against dwarves if they do miraculously make it to the semis. I'd also be okay going up against lizardmen and greenskins. So we'll have to see. Now, the matchup against wood elves. How do I feel about that? I think I feel okay about it. Let's see. Yeah, I feel very decent, but that's about it. That's all I can say about it. Because, yeah, wood elves. They're new tools. Terrifying to go up against. Oh man, how do you beat the wood elves, says Coast? It's been so long. So long. Honestly, I just need to make sure that I can deal with a rush and that I can deal with an archer heavy build. I could go for a bit of a middle ground style, but I think Call Harmon sort of has a good grasp on the matchup, so I feel like he might just be able to crush it if I don't try to hard counter a specific build. We'll have to see. A hard counter on, like, you know, a wood elf rush wouldn't be terrible. Or alternatively, a hard counter on a range build. Like, it's okay. It's very okay. Oh man. Let's see, what do you guys think though? Do you think I'm gonna be able to pull it through? I did manage to beat the high elves and Felkon too. So that's pretty good. But the new Wood Elf vs. Coast meta. Honestly, I've played it like once or twice since the update. And that's about it. Just once or twice. Spiteful Shot for the ROR Stag Knights, perhaps. But you need to keep in mind, Spiteful Shot is only useful if you put it on gunnery wights or if you're shooting. And the price cost for Spiteful Shot is insane. You need to spend 1,000 gold just so that you can dip a little bit of Winds of Magic in there. It's pretty brutal. If you manage to not lose gunnery wights, you will win. Maybe. The Orion builds from Wood Elves have been nerfed. That's definitely a plus. Wondering what happens if I go for like a crazy gun build, like an air build. Can I rush the Wood Elves with air? I'm thinking probably not. Very likely not. I have a decent number of tools for Wood Elf ranged builds, however. One thing that does help a lot is that gunnery wights do have 180 range. Insane. They have yeah, they got crazy range. Clearly not a coast player, so no idea about the cost. Yeah, it's if Spiteful Shot was in the lore of vampires, I think I would definitely be running it. But since I need a whole separate caster, I lose a hero slot, which is so valuable in a gunnery wight meta. Just is not worth it unless I go for some crazy Silostra action, and she actually wouldn't be too terrible against Wood Elves. In fact, is that what I'm gonna go? Silostra against the dreaded Wood Elves? She does have magic damage. It's just that she doesn't have healing, so in a grindy type of battle, I will lose quite handily. And that's a bit of an understatement. Let's see. I wonder if it is a ranged heavy build. How bad would that be? Because Wood Elves are sort of like High Elves, except they have even more archers than before. So, oh man, what do I do here? They got so many archers. I think cavalry isn't super duper scary, but I'm not sure. I'll take my time setting up this build though. I have the luxury of having played first, so I have all the time in the world to figure out how I want to play this matchup. The scariest part though is that with High Elves, you have the threat of Sirens, just because High Elves have to specifically go for magic damage. But Wood Elves come built in with magic damage, and that makes them a lot more efficient at ruining your day, because you basically can't take Sirens here. That's going to be very rough. I think against mass archer styles, though, I might be able to do decently. Let's see. And against a full-on rush. Against a full-on rush, I think this build that I have going right now would get annihilated. So, plan B, I'm going to change it up a tiny bit and hope that saves me. And it's crazy how expensive these builds can actually get. Dwarf box once again forced to cheer against Dowie. Yeah, I think dwarves, they might be one of the factions that box up the most out of all the factions. Just because when you don't have mobility, you can't support a wider army. And that means that sadly it's gonna have to be boxes more often than not. That is true. I think we're seeing the faction that boxes up the most against the faction that gets boxed against the most. Most people will box against accounts because they do not have a large number of range units. And they also don't have a lot of anti-box tech. No, final transmutation or anything to save them. They just have to use their breath attacks efficiently. So we'll have to see. Dwarf army moving on up. It's a fairly small one, Iron Breakers. That means they're in a pretty good spot to get breath attacked. Now, we are seeing Grombrindle. You can dodge breath attacks, especially in this type of matchup. So, if he does manage to do that, we could see a fairly hard to kill box here. The vampire counts essentially are on a time limit, in that when their infantry dies, and the dwarves still have their infantry, any single entities for the vampire counts will have a very hard time. Not claiming there's a more effective way, you just don't like it. Perfectly reasonable. Now, right off the bat, pun intended, the bats are getting shot up by the Trollhammer torpedoes. About a 100 gold loss. Not huge, but not exactly wanted. So blasting charges do hit the Grave Guard. Very good choice. As you do want to make sure that you kill the Grave Guard before before you run into trouble. Nice breath attack dodge. They still get a lot of damage in on them though, the Peak Gate Guard. And I think the breath attack was still worth it. And that's actually a really nice win for the vampire counts. The more breath attacks they can land, the better. And even if all the Graveguard do die, as long as there's no more dwarf elite infantry, the vampire counts will be having a pretty nice time. Alright, so here we go. Dwarf backline, or center that is, getting compromised by some Felbats and zombies. Now this is very temporary, and right now we're seeing the Trollhammers. They're not actually shut down yet, which means they could potentially get a lot of damage in here. And wow, a huge volley into the Vampire Count's Lord. Look at that, Nameless. Half HP on the Vampire Count's Lord. That's about a 1,500 gold loss. And that is absolutely huge for the dwarves. It loses a bit more HP on the way out. Nearing 2,000 gold worth of losses. That's going to be a little bit of a misplay, letting those Trollhammers fire. And oh boy, that's going to give the counts a little bit of a run for their money. Now, their infantry do still have the potential to win the front line. And if the Graveguard do come out on top, the Vampire counts will still win this game. But man, another huge blasting charge volley into those Graveguard. And a breath attack, missing the hammers. That's very unfortunate. But still, we are seeing still a lot of Graveguard great weapons still alive. Vampire Count's Lord does live, so he can heal extremely efficiently. So it could still go either way, but look at that. The Dwarf Bounce of Power is insane. That is huge for the Vampire Counts. And we'll have to see how this plays out. Feels like Vargeists are probably the worst pick possible. I think in this case they had a pretty rough time. I think they just got face full of Trollhammer. And that's not the best place to be. Perhaps something on the ground could have done better. Like a Black Coach too. Could have caused a lot of disruption. But the Vargeists, they do have AP, so it's not like they're terrible here. But man, look at that. Grombrindle. Just wrecking face with a very mighty dwarf build. Doing very well here. Another volley of Trollhammers on the Dragon Lord. This time he does manage to take off and dodge the shots, but this is feeling pretty good for Grombrindle. Usually the dwarves, they need to be they're in a rough place when they've lost their Trollhammers, but they've been able to stay alive for so long and get so much value. It's gonna be pretty bad. Irony, you said you took Vargeists in the Bretonnian matchup. I've seen that before. They do help in cavalry fights quite a bit. Yeah, only referring to this matchup. Yeah, they I think they can still do okay, but I think other options are generally better. I wouldn't say they're like garbage, but man, there we go. We are seeing now the Graveguard are basically all dead. And that's basically gonna be it for the Vampire Counts. They will like really want to be winning the frontline fight. As you can see now, without infantry support, Vampire Counts are nothing. And that's gonna be game. Grombrindle takes the win. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Which means that I have a potentially very scary matchup coming up if I beat the Wood Elves. Two very scary matchups, but we'll see. You love their utility against armored lower model count units. Vargeists. I wonder how well they do against Trollhammers. I could see them doing okay. Alright, now I still have to set up my army against the Wood Elves. What do you guys think? What if I go for like a full-on rush? You know, Wood Elves are gonna rush me. I'm gonna rush them back. What's the scariest thing that could happen? What, dryads? Maybe. Dryads are pretty terrifying. What else? Greenskins should win against Lizardmen? I don't know. Lizardmen is one of their best counters. Who is playing the Greenskins and Lizardmen though? That will make a fairly large difference. I think it's only slightly favored on the Lizardmen side. And recently people have been getting a lot more practice while playing the Greenskins, just because they've been in the meta for so long. So definitely very interesting. And we will have to see. Let's see, it looks like the Greenskins are gonna be Vicious Satsuma against Abaddon. I don't know how to say that name. I'll just call him Abaddon. Okay. Vicious Satsuma is a fairly strong player, but he might not be using the most meta greenskin units. We'll have to see. If I rush and Wood Elves go heavy on kite, how will it go? It really depends on how well the Wood Elves kite. In general, Vampire Coast rushes can have a hard time though, just because the Vampire Coast rushes are very slow. You're moving at the speed of zombies, so that's 23 speed against Wood Elf infantry, usually dryads, moving at 43, so they move almost twice as fast as your units. It's not a good time. Yeah, that's gonna be scary for sure. You got money on the new guy, got a root against greenskins? Not a bad choice, Contende. Not a bad choice. I would I don't think greenskins are. I think they're strong. We see them very often. But I don't know. Greenskins are sort of the underdog here. We'll see. We will see. The Lizardmen force looking like an air kite build. Air units, usually a very annoying unit type to deal with as greenskins. I'm excited to see how this plays out. This should be very good. Let's see. Alright, sorry, I'm just continuing to set up my army against the dreaded Wood Elves. I'm sort of liking what I have going though. This seems like it's actually pretty decent. But yeah, what are we seeing? We're seeing Lizardmen. Actually, not a full-on air kite. They do have a bit of meat in their front line. Croxagores, whoa, and Temple Guard. Alright, now that's going to be pretty good against Stone Trolls and the Arachnarok Spider. But will they get punished by the kite? Probably not, given that they do have air skirmishers of their own, but it depends on how much damage they take. T-Rex, let's go Lizardmen. Ooh, do they have a T-Rex? It doesn't look like it, but they do have a Stegodon. Very meta unit, but man, look at those Pterodon Riders. They take a lot of damage right off the get-go. Right before the main engagement happens, and that's definitely a little bit of a misplay. About 500 gold off the bat, gone. Brutal. But the front line is now engaged. This is where the big plays will actually go down. And we're going to see how well these Croxagores actually do against the high AP greenskins. Usually you'd expect them to beat Croxagores here. And right now we're seeing it's sort of an even trade. You feel like Lizardmen are almost the same as greenskins in playstyle. Very close. They're very close, but Lizardmen do have a bit more utility. Greenskins have a little bit more punch. 30 seconds behind and guessing you're caught up now. Sweet. Yeah, no T-Rex indeed. It's very unfortunate. Shield of the Old Ones drops. And the front line for the Lizardmen still holding fairly well, but the Croxagores are getting pretty beat up. You can see there, they've lost more HP than the Stone Trolls. However, there is an extra unit of very healthy Croxagores. They're going to be doing pretty good. They transition over to the center line, and not to mention the Temple Guard. Absolutely terrifyingly strong unit too. Greenskins, however, actually no balance of power, fairly close. But that may change very quickly, as we see now the Goblin Great Shaman getting a little bit surrounded by the Lizardmen forces. Stone Trolls, they rout off. And Stegodon, it rampages. And this is sort of where the big plays are going to happen. Will the Stegodon die? And will the Goblin Great Shaman get routed off? We have yet to... we do not know yet. But there is that Skink Chief in the air. And he does have thousands of damage in his back pocket in the form of infinite blow darts. And over the course of the game, he could take out the Goblin Great Shaman, but now that the Great Shaman is now out of combat, it can Vindictive Glare, and that could do quite a bit of damage to the Flying Skink. Gonna be a little bit scary here for the forces of the Lizardmen. They want to keep that Great Shaman pinned down in Temple Guard. But as long as that Skink Chief survives, that's pretty good. Not to mention, he's hunting down Stone Trolls too. And that's really nice. With a little bit more chasing, he should be able to get about 1,000 gold off the battlefield. It's going to be huge for the Lizardmen, but it still will come down to the center engagement, where we are seeing, it seems like the Lizardmen are coming on top in the infantry fight. Plus, they have Croxagores in the back, ready to charge in and provide some mass to pin down the Great Shaman. I think the Lizardmen are actually going to come out on top here. Despite all odds, it seems like things are slowly going into their favor. Especially without any ITP. The Lizardmen are going to be terror routing many of these greenskin forces. Vicious Satsuma going against the norm, not taking ITP. It's going to be rough. And here we go. River Troll Hag in combat against Temple Guard and Croxagores. Not a good place to be. The Goblin Great Shaman on the verge of routing, but he still has a little bit of fight left in him. He's going to need to take a bit more damage yet. And second wind from the Greenskins. They actually do win that infantry fight despite surrounding the Goblin Great Shaman. Feral Stegodon not even participating in that engagement. And there we go. Huge rout on the Lizardman side. That's real bad. Oh my goodness. It looks like the Greenskins are actually going to come out on top here. Very, very unfortunate for the Lizardmen. The Greenskins coming on in. And just really winning that main engagement. Despite everything, the Goblin Great Shaman hanging on. Looks like that will be all they need. I'm surprised the Temple Guard did rout off though. Very uncharacteristic of them. But there we go. Now it's just clean up, essentially, at this point. Mopping up the mess of all the cold blood across the battlefield. Lizardmen still scrapping it out, though. Despite having a single Slan and a single Skink Chief. Perhaps he will get the best RNG in the world, but he won't. And he routs off. GG. Alright. Nice, Vicious Satsuma. Showing the Lizardmen who's boss. Not even bringing ITP, using the Goblin Great Shaman instead. Very well played. Okay, now I have to continue figuring out what I'm going to do against the Wood Elves. What to do? What to do? Let's see. Wood Elves. Wood Elves. Darned Wood Elves. I think the build that I have going right now is very close to what I want. But it just needs like a tiny bit more and then I'll be feeling comfortable. I wish I had an extra 1,000 gold. That would help. But sadly, I do not. So far, yeah, I don't know. It's all looking okay. It's not bad. But is it good? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's a fairly nice build, though. I think this build against the Wood Elves definitely has a little bit of teeth. So I'm excited to try it out against Call Harmon. Oh, look at that. Greenskin's coming out on top of Lizardman. Who would have guessed? Everyone's hopes and dreams getting ruined for anyone who expected the Lizardmen to take the win there. You were incorrect. Maybe next time. I guess with so many savage orcs, they actually do trade fairly efficiently into Temple Guard. And even with the Croxagores, they sort of just traded evenly into the Stone Trolls, and the Goblin Great Shaman dealt with the rest. He is extremely tanky, and without enough single entity punch, the Lizardmen really couldn't do it. Although I think they could have won it with better Pterodon micro. Had the Pterodons not routed off so quickly. It could have been a different game. That's right, T-Rex actually would have carried there. A single Carnosaur just munching on that Great Shaman. Now, I don't know how much damage a Carnosaur takes from Vindictive Glare, but I imagine it probably isn't that much. What, it has like 80 armor and some missile resist? It's not terrible. So cool. I'm gonna go ahead and set up my lobby against Call Harmon, since I do actually have my my build ready. I'm excited to show it off, guys. It's a pretty good build. I think it's yeah, I think it's not bad. See the map? The map. Map is gonna be... What is the map gonna be? Karak Buffdar, I think. Yeah, Karak Buffdar, sweet. So I'll go ahead and set that, and then we can sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the games. 2 out of 6 for your bracket so far. Or 2 out of 16. Out of 4 matches. Ah, that's rough. 50% guess rate. That is not amazing, but yeah, Butcherbird at 316. Which one did you get wrong, Butcherbird? Did you think Lizardman would pull it through? Perhaps Felkon would beat my Coast? Or maybe Chaos winning against Wood Elves. They're all matchups that could go either way, really. 416 Biblington, my man! You bet on yourself? Oh my gosh, you madman. So you have to win. That's hilarious, man. Are you going for the double dip? You know, if you win both of them. If you lose both. That's pretty exciting. You got Dowie and Wood Elves wrong. I see. Yeah, Dwarves. I think given that it was from Brindle, the Dwarves had a pretty good setup there, but I can see that. The Wood Elves too. We don't really see Call Harmon everywhere, but I have a bit of back-end knowledge having practiced with him in that specific matchup, so we shall see. Now for Bretonia versus Hadri's' Skaven, how do you guys feel about this? Hadri's on the Skaven, gonna be going for some fun builds for sure. Usually he doesn't go full standard. He has a little bit of shenanigans. He has his own flavor of playstyle. Although this time it is going to be a box. So I do eat my words, but I'm sure he has some units in there that are exciting. Are those Plague Claw catapults? Or Warp Lightning cannons? It looks like Warp Lightning. So, yeah, okay. Pretty standard when it comes to Bretonian tech. Poison Wind Mortars for the archers, and this time Clanrat frontline. He's skimping on the Skaven slaves since they did get gold nerfed, and Clanrats are still fairly efficient. You think Ulrich has a decent chance, but seems pretty disfavored. Actually, in testing, this matchup is actually not too bad for either side. Tonian archers are scary, and their cavalry really helps here against Skaven. Normally you'd like Brett, but Hadri's is quite spooky as Skaven. Yeah, Ulrich Wall is a very strong player too, but I think he prefers Empire most of the time. We'll have to see. Although I have seen him play a lot of Bretonnia recently, so I would not count him out for sure. Now while we wait for the setup, I'm gonna go stand up and do some stretches to make sure that I'm nice and healthy. Oh, and I'm also gonna grab some water, so stay hydrated, guys. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, and I'm back. Man, it's really weird. Every time the stream shows only my chair, the viewership actually goes up just a tiny bit. It's very strange. Apparently the chair is more popular than myself, although that is not entirely a surprise. Now, what are we seeing here? The Skaven shooting their warp lightning cannons at the infantry of Bretonnia, the cavalry, of course, staying nice and far away, while the trebuchets try to take out those Skaven forces, but the dreaded 13th drops, immediately routs off those artillery pieces. And boy, oh boy, am I excited. See how this plays out now. That is some very interesting tech from Hadri's, using the extremely long cast range of the dreaded 13th to take out that artillery. But there's still another trebuchet left, and one of the warp lightning cannons will be going down, unfortunately. Come for the chair, stay for the Enticity. They probably can't handle a manly presence on screen. Well, manly, that is a word. I can agree with that. Now, we're seeing right now, one major thing that is in the advantage of Hadri's. By securing the artillery advantage, he has actually kept his poison wind mortars completely safe for this battle. Usually the two trebuchets would be just battering them down, but in this case, they're focusing on the warp lightning cannons, and that means that the poison wind mortars are going to be able to stay alive and hit their key targets. Not to mention, there's also a warp lightning cannon that will also kill cavalry too. So it's gonna be rough for Ulrich Wall, I think. Oh man, look at that. Plus, the artillery crew actually comes back for Skaven. That is huge. Excuse me, huge, I'd say. But there we go, some counter spells going into the Skaven lines, but it actually doesn't do that much damage. And now we're seeing the Skaven come into full force. They've actually traded extremely effectively here, for the majority of the game, not taking too many losses, while doing quite good themselves. Warp lightning cannons annihilating that cavalry. Oh my goodness, and that's a bit of an understatement. That cavalry charge going down below half HP, trying to get in on the warp lightning cannons, taking poison wind fire on the way out. That's going to be pretty good. And an artillery dodge from the Comet of Casadora. Will it still miss? It does. The artillery stays. And Hadri's is micro here. Just ace. Dodging, really securing that artillery battle like no tomorrow. Another spell drops on the artillery. It finally gets those rats routed off. But if you think about the resources spent, Ulrich Wall has very little healing at this point to have only taken out a single warp lightning cannon, not even the poison wind mortars. That's got to be feeling pretty rough for sure. Yeah, not looking good for Bretonnia indeed. Irony. Now the poison wind mortars, they will eventually run out of ammunition. I would assume Hades would take them off fire at will as the late game progresses, and he'll only be firing at key targets with them. In the meantime, he's just getting a lot of value with the Warp Lightning Cannons, poking away at whichever units he can. Just really punishing those knights. But another spell drops on the Warp Lightning Cannon. Still, a lot of Winds of Magic. That's a heal that can no longer go on the Paladins. And if you take a look at Hades' build, he does have 2 Chieftains, or some sort of 2 single entity Ogre units as his main killing power. And without a lot of healing, they're gonna wreck those Paladins like no one's business, unless they really get caught out. Ulrich Wall does not have a ton of archers, and that's going to make things really rough for him. Cavalry, taking a lot of damage too. That's going to be rough. Ooh, and we'll see how the rest of this plays out, but so far, we're seeing the Bretonnians just taking constant poke damage. Now another Warp Lightning Cannon goes down. Surely it has paid for itself now at this point. Poison Wind Mortars are still alive too. And Ulrich Wall at this point just praying that the Poison Wind Mortars finally run out of ammunition. And thankfully it looks like his prayers will be responded back to. And they only have like a couple volleys left. So that pain will end. The artillery battle will finally come to a close. And then the game will be decided on how well these engagements go. Now, like I said earlier, Ulrich Wall does not have a ton of archers, which puts him in a pretty bad position. You need those archers if you wanna take out the Skaven single entities. 2 paladins are good, but will they be good enough? If he does manage to surround the Skaven single entities with infantry, that's gonna be his win condition. So let's take quick stock of the Bretonnian infantry side. And we're seeing basically nothing, but he does still have cavalry, and that will surely help too. Okay, and there we go. Some more infantry getting caught and routed off, but it's still not over. Fey Enchantress, with her Mortis Engine effect, can very quickly kill off all these Skaven clan rats like no one's business. So I think it's going to be on Hades to not clump up and to try and take good engagements here with his single entity squad, which it looks like they will be able to search for the fights that they want to. Getting a little bit spread out. That's a tiny bit worrying, but all in all, still looking decent. I think Ulrich Wall choosing not to advance since I think he still has a trebuchet unit. And he wants to make sure he uses up all that ammunition. Alright, and here we go. The infinitely long game continues. Fey Enchantress charges in directly beside 2 chieftains. A near suicidal move, perhaps. She has decided that the Bretonnians are no longer honorable and is now throwing her life away. Takes a couple hundred damage on the retreat. Not terrible, but definitely not efficient. For how much damage she did to those clan rats, that's not great. She takes another huge hit from the chieftain. 2 paladins move in. And are we gonna see a single entity from Hades getting sniped out here? He's looking pretty isolated, disengages, but he takes a bit of damage himself. And if Ulrich Wall keeps this up, that would be really nice for him. However, Paladins trying to get a good hit on those chieftains. It looks like maybe 1 hit, but that's gonna be it. Alright. Fey Enchantress moving on into Mortis Engine. Heals. She does still have some Winds of Magic. That's good for Ulrich. And it looks like it's gonna be a big engagement. Now, it's all gonna depend on how well these chieftains do. Put your bets in now, guys. If you think the chieftains can actually beat double paladins, let's hear it. They are more expensive by quite a bit too. And look at that, 1 paladin already gets routed off. That's gonna be pretty rough. That's 50% of the Bretonnian damage now off the battlefield. Fey Enchantress is beaten up, and she doesn't have that much healing left. There is still some cavalry around the battlefield, but this is rough. Plus the paladin sort of getting bogged down. Oh, and he shatters. Okay, now that is really bad for the Bretonnians. To not have the other paladin. All that healing that could have possibly gone on him, now gone. the other paladin getting gooned out by the chieftains. Oh my goodness, I think Hadri's is gonna do it. He secured a very nice lead in the early game, and now it's come down to a Hail Mary play with the cavalry to try and win it, but a masterful summon right behind the cavalry catches all of them. Oh my goodness, Hadri's coming in and just really showing a masterclass in counterplay. It seemed like there were no misplays for Hadri's here. Like everything was in his control. It seemed like he had a really nice grasp on how well the chieftains would do against the paladins. And of course his various spells and abilities to shut down the trebuchets. Just really showing why he is one of the best Skaven players out there. Wow, that is good stuff. Look at that. Hadri's with his storm vermin halberds at basically full HP. Oh my goodness. He took a build that was elite infantry heavy, that was intentionally weak to trebuchets, and then brings in the secret tech to kill all the trebuchets. That is insane. Butcherbird, you had Bretonia winning it. Oof. Okay, so that's about 4 guesses right out of there. When the main faction you think is gonna win gets knocked out, yeah, that's rough. Yeah, Hadri's is super scary as Skaven. He's been my coast multiple times now with it. So I'm very happy he's on the opposite end of the bracket. I'm hoping he dies to Beastmen or Norska, but I think the odds of that are fairly low. Quite low, actually. Extremely low. Instead, maybe the Empire or the Tomb Kings or the High Elves could take him out. Fingers crossed. You can still get 10 out of 16. See, the thing is, we see oftentimes people getting pretty high up in the points for the votes. I think like 12 is the smallest I've ever seen. Yeah. So if your max is 10 now, I'm sorry to say your odds of victory are low. You'll knock him out. All right. Biblington, go get him. Get him. I don't want to face Hadri's. Please. But hey, you know, if you get knocked out by Wood Elves, it won't matter. So, oh boy, we'll see. We'll see. Wood Elves is pretty scary. Yeah, not much else to say there. Wood Elves are just scary. In fact, I'm looking back at my build right now, and it has a few flaws. I hate to say it, but yes, there are indeed actually a few problems here with my build. Unfortunately so. I think it still can work out okay though. Max is 15. Oh, I thought it was 16. Oh, my bad. Oof. All right. Let's see. Yeah, this coast build is okay against the Wood Elves. It's very okay, and that's it. It ends there. It's the most just decent. Actually, you know what? There's a few saving graces here that really do help, I think. Yeah, it's gonna be really sketchy, guys. It's gonna be really sketchy. I basically can't make a misplay, or I have to hope my opponent makes a huge misplay. It has to be odd because finals is 1 and every other is a multiple of 2. Oh my god, Butcherbird, the math genius coming on in. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's a multiple of 2 minus 1. The double Necrofex Gunnery White play has virtually no flaws, except for the fact that it's an illegal build. Double Necrofex is actually, yes, indeed, not legal. So you might have to evaluate your definition of no flaws. But honestly, I think Necrofex are surprisingly bad against archers. I would not take them there. Now, Beastmen. It's gonna be Papa Palpatine as the Beastmen against Pug No Bone. 2 very common Chaos players. You'll see them playing Chaos a lot. Or not Chaos, but, you know, chaotic factions. I'm sure they'll be playing at least one of the 4 Chaos Gods, too, when Warhammer 3 drops. Gonna be very hype. Just hope nobody notices. I think that may be the pro play. Triple Necrophex. Whew. Nice, nice. Skirting around them rules. Now, what are we seeing? Quad Skin Wolves, 2 Berserkers, a few Skirmishers. This looks pretty good. Now, the game is going to hinge on those Skin Wolves. Very likely. If the Skin Wolves die early, well, there's still Wolfric, so I think the Norskins can actually afford to trade off the Skin Wolves. But with 2 Beastmen Ungor Archers, I believe those need to get shut down. So the goal here, Archers trying to kill the Mammoth, gonna be pressured by the Norskin mobility and spell casting. If the Archers die, the Mammoth will reign supreme. If the Skin Wolves die, the Archers will reign supreme. So that's gonna be the big play here. We have Marauder Horsemen to assist the Skin Wolves and to counter Skirmish Cavalry. They will beat up Chaos Spawn too. So all in all, I think Norska's in a fairly good position, but we'll have to see if they can Burning Head those Archers effectively or not. It's true. It is only illegal if you get caught. The age-old knowledge. Thieves everywhere. Alright, so Wolfric continuing to dance around. The Beastmen here, they are losing the Skirmisher advantage as their mobility is limited to melee. The Norska denying an engagement and conceding the center of the map. Given how huge this map is, that's completely fine. And here we go. It looks like a big engagement is about to commence. Norskin still pulling back, trying to get into a better position. And this is it. This is going to be the game, guys. Maybe I should go for a quick bio break or something. This could take a hot second, guys. Oh, but here we go. The final, the main engagement. It begins. Now, Norska, they will win in this engagement without the Chaos Spawn support. Chaos Spawn, they do enter to fight some Berserkers. That's a very good choice. Huge boat, though. Cleaves through multiple Beastmen infantry. And that's pretty bad. Now, I said the Archers needed to get shut down, but if you're gonna kill all the infantry, you are effectively shutting down the Archers, too. Beastman Lord getting caught by Wolfric, taking lots of damage. Is that a Kazrak One-Eye? It's a Kazrak One-Eye, guys. Getting brutalized. Burning Head drops. Hits friendly fire, actually, onto the Norskin troops. That's a bit unfortunate. But so far, I think they're fairly comfortable, as they have busted through the front line and done about half damage to the Beastmen Lord. But a big cavalry engagement begins. And big question, will the Skin Wolves win against the Centaurs here? Not guaranteed, but I think they will at least trade pretty efficiently. The one saving grace for the Beastmen, though, they do have their Archers alive. The dreaded range unit power now getting caught by Wolfric, but it doesn't mean they can't escape. However, with one vicious melee attack, they all die. And you know, if you're dead, you can't run away. That's going to be a rough time for them. The Skin Wolves do rout, however, so sort of trading blows back and forth. Both forces not really worrying about the defense, instead just trying to get as much damage as possible onto their enemy as they can. Another Burning Head, a little bit of friendly fire. These Burning Heads are looking for blood. This time it's going to be Norskin blood. But one main advantage that the Norskins do have is that their skirmish cavalry lives. For the Beastmen, they have mobility and a single unit of archers left. That's correct. They're donating to Turin, not me. Yes. And that is completely fine. I am but a simple hobbyist of this craft. Turin actually needs the money to live, as this is his job. Now, Wolfric, he now gets surrounded, takes a bit of damage. He does fairly well against Centaurs, however, so it's not a terrible fight. Not to mention, a couple Marauder Berserkers holding up fairly well there. So we'll see if the Beastmen do actually come out on top. one big play, however, Manticore summon. Something that is actually quite threatening to Wulfric, given that he can't kill the Manticore very quickly. Instead, looks like he's going to be focusing Kazarak to try and take him down. Balance of power now in the favor for the Beastmen. It seems like the loss of the Skin Wolves might have broken the camel's back there. Especially with the newly found mobility advantage in these Centaurs. That means, yeah, that one unit of archers actually just brutalizes Wulfric, and there we go. This is why I was thinking the burning heads on those archers would have done better. But we may never know how it would have turned out otherwise. Of course, clearing up the front line also very important. But if we do see the value on one of those archers, I would expect it to be fairly high, possibly in the thousands. So we'll see Turin hovering over Kazarak. Decent damage. But what about the archers, Turin? Turin, no, the archers. Come on, he's looking at the Centaurs. He's looking at the Skin Wolves. And, oh, he's so close. This is more suspenseful than the actual game that was just played. Come on, Turin, don't do us dirty. Oh, and it's gone. It's gone. The archers that I had hyped up so much. Not getting shown, but this is a restream, and this is the fate that we will have to accept, sadly, guys. Tzinch cares not where the burning head goes, only that it is casted. Yes, perhaps he does care and wants burned bodies, or perhaps none. That is true. Tzinch is the master schemer. He will be happy if it hits, if it misses, as long as it's part of his masterful plans. Ungor Raiders are the secret ingredient. Ingredient X. The best build for the Beastmen now. While we wait for the next match, I will once again take a quick 1 minute break. Just go ahead and open up a timer real quick. Where is it? What, Snaz? A strange name for a timer, guys. There we go. You guys can enjoy the chair, enjoy the screen, either showing your victory and prediction skills or failure. We won't judge you either way, but we will pay our respects to those who have guessed incorrectly. Okay, and I'm back. I'm back. Let's close the timer. How's the match going? It seems like the match is loading in. Very exciting. Kafka versus Ice Power. Gonna be Empire versus the Dark Elves. A matchup that we've seen Ice Power win multiple times against second place World Championship player Alfredino. We'll see how this plays out. I'm predicting... yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I think Ice Power likely will be pretty practiced in this matchup. Are we going to see the double Manticore play? However, Manticore Marathi, I think one of his favorite play styles here. and I think I do see it off in the distance. It's gonna be pretty hype. Alrighty. Sorry, just doing a quick check on something. What the, how do I? Ah, here we go. Okay, so it is live. Sweet. Alright, so Ice Power coming on in. Coming in hot. Getting his Scourge Runner chariots hit by artillery at the beginning of the battle. Not the most opportune situation, but he does have 2 Manticores and Marathi. I think he should be in a decent situation here, as long as they manage to stay alive. Empire with a nice defensive build by the hill, very AI of them. As for anyone who has played campaign, when you do not have artillery, the AI loves to position right on top of that hill. And here we go. The Dark Elves, they advance. Empire with what looks to be a light wizard. Gonna be trying to net down some of those Dark Elf units. Now, is he gonna go for the Manticores with his handgun fire or Marathi? I'm not sure yet. Looks like the shot's going for Marathi. Remember, she does heal. So, though that damage is not permanent, that might be what Ice Power is actually looking for. Big Doombolt does drop on the handgunners too. A little bit of return fire. Hurts them for a lot more damage than they just put out. Ice Power, knowing his spells, knowing that that will do pretty good damage to infantry, and continuing to move up with this front line. Now, Dark Elf front lines, they generally win against Empire ones, but with cavalry support, it will easily go the other way. Plus, they do have Flagellants. So we'll have to see. Of course, Volkmar too, but he's getting pushed back. And I'm seeing a little bit of scary situation now for the Dark Elves. What's actually happening is that, or for the Empire, they only have 1 range unit here. They have 2, a unit of Huntsmen who actually do assist, but in losing the silver bullets, I think the Empire, they could run into a bad situation. Of course, you want to have those silver bullets online and operational, as with just 1 unit of Huntsmen, it's a little bit dicey. Without range units, the Empire can't really deal with the Scourge Runners. I guess they do have cavalry, but against Marathi and 2 Manticores, that would probably be their biggest threat. And here we go, Marathi now diving in on Volkmar. A very good fight for Marathi. Volkmar with terrible melee stats. Gonna be trying to hold out as best as he can. And actually does manage to disengage. So good on Volkmar. But the Empire range is more or less shut down. They do have a cannon still operational. That's definitely gonna be good. But will it be enough? We will have to see. I wonder where Carl Harmon is too. He's not in my lobby yet. I guess we'll just continue waiting on him. Or I can message here. Alright, so how's this game going? Dark Elves surrounding the Empire forces. Balance of power. Actually, slightly Empire favored. Big shot on Volkmar does drop. A dive in. Trying to snipe out Volkmar, but this can actually be folly. Occasionally. As Volkmar is one of the more slippery characters in the game. He's actually very high mass. And with just a few units of infantry here and there, looks like he will be able to survive. Roma saying good luck, thank you. I may need it. Wood Elves is one of the worst matchups for me. And there we go, Carl Harmon's in the lobby. We have one more match before our next game. Oh boy, now here we go, classic Ice Power move. He's gonna Soul Stealer, the huge blob on his Manticores. Very standard. Volkmar dives right on in, not fearing the Soul Stealer. It doesn't do too much damage to him anyways. As it is getting towards the end of the cast, and just taking a look at the army. I think we only have one more Manticore left for Ice Power. One more that I can see. I'm not sure what happened to the other one. And another dive in onto Volkmar. So I don't think Volkmar is gonna die, but this will push him closer to his heal cap. And in the late game, that will be important. Power disengaging to hit some infantry too, not a bad decision. It also gives him time for some more Soul Stealers, waiting on that cooldown, with the main downside being that Volkmar is going to keep healing. He will continue healing until he heal caps himself, probably. This game looks like it's going to be a long one, but the fact that one of the Manticores is down is actually pretty big. But if we take a look at cavalry-wise, Empire has no cavalry, while the Dark Elves do, just kidding, did. As the Dark Riders just get deleted off the face of the map. They're gone, at least mostly. They go for a final charge in just to distract some infantry while they can. While Marathi finally shows Volkmar's heal cap. A little bit of weakness showing there, Volkmar, but he's not close yet. He's going to keep on healing. However, that Manticore getting some nice hits, a big chariot engagement, and we've seen this before. Ice Power in the late game with Chariot Micro, he's going to be killing all of your infantry, Soul Stealers too, and then his single entities are going to mop up the rest. This is as classic Ice Power as it gets, as the balance of power now sways into the favor of the Dark Elves. And there we go, we're seeing Marathi coming out on top with basically full HP. That will likely be game for the poor Empire here. Kafka, you played well. It was a very close early game, but the power of the single entity runs strong in the veins of Ice Power. The game just has to close now. Of course, Kafka still scrapping it out. When it is your only game of the tournament, you might as well play it out. And it looks like that's exactly what's going to be happening. But unless Volkmar gets the best RNG we have ever seen, I don't think he'll be winning. And even if he does, maybe Kafka should have just bought a lottery ticket instead. Because there we go, Volkmar at no HP. It's now army losses level for the Empire. But we have actually, strangely enough, seen players come back from army losses before. With unbreakable units, just in this case it seems likely not. There is still a Marathi and a Manticore. Chariots too, let's not forget. And there we go, finally, that's it. Volkmar does very nearly heal cap though. Just a little bit more time and he would have reached his maximum power. And there we go, he gets taken out by a Scourge Runner. I don't think it was even Marathi or the Manticore that took him out. And then that should be it. There is no more yellow on the balance of power. Absolutely none. Maybe if Ice Power does some sort of egregious rule break and starts cycle charging like a madman here with the single entities, but that's not gonna happen. GG, Ice Power takes the win. How are your scores, guys? Did you think Ice Power was gonna take it? He did win last time, so not the biggest surprise. It would have been fun to see Ice Power against Alfredino again though, but you can't have it every time. So sweet, GG. And I'll be moving on to the next match soon. Right after this High Elf Tomb Kings battle. Now, the biggest worry for me, probably the Wood Elves. Greenskins are scary, but they're not too bad. I can live against greenskins. But you know, we'll have to see. I think I have a decent chance against greenskins, but everything else, who knows? And here we go. The last match of the first round, a fairly long first round, actually took us, by the looks of it, 2 hours, but that means that the rest of the tournament should be about 2 hours maximum. That's gonna be pretty nice. And it's gonna be Davin against Biblington. Cool, Biblington. Frequent viewer of the stream. Gonna be coming in against the Tomb Kings. All my money is on Biblington, and if I had to guess their build, it would be a mass archer build. That should be pretty fun. And yeah, hopefully we get that, because it's a build that I've enjoyed quite a bit. Essentially 4 Lothern Seaguard, 4 archers, and you just shoot the Tomb Kings to death. And then that's it. You use Plague of Rust and Techless with nets, and it's just it's a dandy old time. You will annihilate most Tomb Kings units unless they go really heavy on the infantry front. As for his opponent, Davin AQ, I have no idea what he's gonna bring. Possibly some chariots, possibly a Cetra on his Necro Sphinx. We'll have to see. If he brings Ark in the Black, he's gonna get dunked by Lothern Seaguard. I can't see it really happening any other way. Or he'll have to stay so far away, he's essentially overcasting Spirit Leech all the time, which no one really wants to do, because man oh man does it waste your winds of magic. On a fitting map for the Tomb Kings too, the desert. We'll see how this goes. We got some nice spikes in the background, classic Warhammer mountain spikes. And as the armies load in, who do you guys think is gonna win? All my money is on Biblington. Each and every single chip. I've withdrawn my savings, and I think he's gonna win it. Specifically with the mass archer build, but that might just be me. I think I might just like my range play too much. And no, Biblington going for a more normal build, like a normie, going for rangers and some spears, Flamespire Phoenix, possibly some Dragon Princes too. This seems pretty standard. As yeah, it's all pretty standard. You got the bolt throwers to deal with single entities. It's not too bad. But we'll see. Bet on Biblington due to fire. Flamespire Phoenix, yeah. Is that double Phoenix Guard? Oh my gosh. No, I was a little bit disappointed, but suddenly Biblington's build seems a lot more exciting. Indeed, double Phoenix Guard and a Phoenix to be guarded. That is amazing. Now that is some elite infantry there, while Davin going for, you know, a little bit of infantry, a little bit of air game, small single entity squad that will die to the Phoenix Guard like no tomorrow. So we'll see if he has something to deal with them. And honestly, I don't know if Dav has a way to deal with the Phoenix Guard. If I am mistaken, please let me know. But against 2 of them, it's gonna be a little bit difficult. I think I do spy an Ushabti Greatbow, however. But I don't know if that's gonna be enough. Archmage of Fire against Tomb King's lack of armor. Yes, Burning Head. One of the best abilities in the game. And it seems like Biblington, he wants to secure the infantry fight. And that is likely what he's going to get. It seems like no Ushabti Greatbow. It's going to be a bit of a rush for the Tomb Kings. Not a lot of range units. This is, it's going to be rough, I think, for the Tomb Kings. Honestly, yeah, they have some single entities, which is good. But without a tool for the Phoenix Guard. Yeah. Enticity, oops. What just happened? You just post a link to my own stream. I'm gonna check a content date. It is. It's a link to my own stream in my stream. Wow. Amazing, man. I clicked the link and I don't know how to get back to my chat. Now that's a little bit awkward. Oh no, how do I get to my chat? I'm watching the video now. Let's see here. Is there a way to close this? What have you done? What have you done, Contende? It's all ruined. All right, now the High Elf versus Tomb Kings game begins. Gonna be approaching each other. And let's see. There we go. And back to chat. Wonderful. Contende linked me in Turin's stream. Thank you very much, Contende. Thank you very much. It is with the generous support of the community that I do manage to continue thriving. And look at that, we got a few new people here. We're just waiting for this match to finish, and then I'll be playing a game against Wood Elves. Carl Harmon too, my fellow ODM member. We were just talking about this High Elves versus Tomb Kings game, where the High Elves have Phoenix Guard that seemingly do not have a counter. We may be proven wrong, however. But there we go, Fireball hitting Cetra for some medium amounts of damage. And it looks like Biblington, frequent viewer of the stream, deciding he's not too worried about the front line. He wants to fight these single entities. And we're already seeing some Silverin getting engaged there on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, just a couple Carrion getting torn to bits. To shreds, I say, by the Phoenix Guard. That's going to be really rough. The Bolt Throwers still actually manage to stay online and operational. So we'll see how this plays out. Of course, the Tomb Kings do still have their single entities. They do still have their monstrous units. But look at that front line. Oh my goodness. The Tomb Kings front line. Absolutely melting. Burning Head to just really put the nail in the coffin. Annihilates the unit that the Rangers were fighting. And the Burning Head swerves almost 90 degrees. I think that's the biggest Burning Head swerve I've ever seen in my life. Gonna be moving on in with a hefty advantage to the High Elves now. They have successfully won the frontline engagement, or at least made it pretty even, since most of the supporting single entities have moved to the flank. Phoenix, however, nope, it's at full HP. It's not worried in the slightest. And I think that's going to be it for the Tomb Kings already. I hate to call it early, but I'm going to do it anyways because, man, oh man, this is looking rough. They have infantry support is dwindling. And the saving grace here are those sepulchral stalkers who at the moment are getting absolutely shut down by the Flamespire Phoenix. Ah yes, Phoenix Guard here great without caskets. That is true. Although the Bolt Throwers surely were here to support against casket style of play. Yeah, I don't think both Shopti would have had enough ammunition to deal with all this either. It seems like a really solid high elf build, I gotta say. Perhaps some chariots, more elite infantry, and just trying to break through the front line is what Davin AQ wanted to do. But it looks like, yeah, that's not gonna be what happens today. You can speculate forever, but what we can be sure of is that there's not much left for the Tomb Kings. I think those Phoenix Guard are basically still at max models, aside from a little bit of chip damage. Just really showing how they are elite. Now, we have a lot of people complaining recently about the 20 stack armies that we've seen recently, but this does show that elite infantry do still have their niche. Sitting around, being indestructible. You just have to make sure they don't get hard countered by anything problematic. And boy oh boy do they do well when they're not getting countered. Oh my goodness. Those single units of Phoenix Guard have shredded everything. Yep, that's a spanking, happens to the best of them indeed. And it will work as a fine excuse for myself if we get destroyed by the Wood Elves in just a second. And there we go, Tomb Kings crumbling away. Army losses. And the tap out from Davin AQ. So sweet, that's that match done. I'm gonna go ahead and close that now. And get on ready for my match against Carl Harmon, which is happening right now as I speak. Oh boy, so we wait for Turin to come in. I have my army set up and ready to go. And yeah, I really like that high elf build. That was some sweet. That was a sweet high elf build, I must say. All right, let's go ahead and invite Turin. Let's see. I don't know how to find him, but it looks like he will find the lobby. Yep, there he is. Start when ready. Cool. So I have a build as the Vampire Coast. It's pretty fun. I took my time setting it up while waiting for our match, and we'll see if this is the last game today. I imagine Call Harmon, he could run me over here, I'm thinking, but I have a pretty nice build. Biblington, good job, man. That was a solid showing, man. That was like more than one-sided. Tomb Kings shouldn't have even showed up. That was so brutal. Yeah. That was a very nice build. I think many of us enjoyed it. And you're up against the Dark Elves next. I'm wondering how you feel you'll do there. Dark Elves versus High Elves it's such a classic matchup. It's changed a lot over the months of Warhammer. Scourge Runner Chariots doing a lot. Sisters of Averlorn could do well. We'll see. Can't wait to see this build that I have been stressing out over the past hour and a half. It's gonna be fun. I am indeed still stressing out about it. That is a correct call. You practice the matchup a bit. Ooh, that's nice. High Elves vs Tomb Kings is it's one that I enjoy, but not one that I've played a whole ton. All right, so I need to remember to close Turin stream so I don't stream snipe my clanmate here. And here we go. We're loading in, guys. We're loading in. Hopefully he can do something similar versus Ice Power. Yeah, Ice Power is he's a beast. He will tear your face off if you're not careful. Just be very careful about that Marathi play. Always snipe the Manticores first, is what I always say. Honestly, I think trying to snipe Marathi usually ends pretty badly, because she has so much healing. Now, my build, it's gonna be a rush build, guys. What's this? A rush? That's right. It's gonna be a full-on, thick Vampire Coast rush style up against the forces of Call Harmon. It's gonna be a lot of halberds to make sure he does not counter-rush me. His army fairly large, which does indicate he will likely be kiting. And that's it. I have 2 gunnery wights to pressure as I chase the army of Call Harmon. Silostra herself with a fairly fun kit. Tide Call for the slow. Kraken's Pull for the murder. And Spiteful Shot in case we do see some random Sylvan Knights coming along. And that's gonna be it. 4 dogs. They don't have any healing, so I need to be very careful about them. Once they start crumbling, they generally don't stop if you don't have healing. And that's gonna be very painful indeed. I'm gonna flank Overload just a tiny bit along this left-hand side. Hopefully that goes okay. Call Harmon's army could be positioned over here. So I'm actually gonna move a little bit closer to the forest side, since I do have this rock over here that could possibly support me. Alternatively, I could move my army away from the center. That does give him a little bit more space to kite, however. Oh, pluses and minuses, pluses and minuses. This rock can become awkward for my dogs to actually get a proper engagement on. But I also don't want them fighting in the forest. We'll have to see. I will position this zombie a little bit further along this side, however, just to make sure he does a little bit better. There we go. Silostra moving on back. Good luck, have fun. Call Harmon. And let's see how this goes. And here we go. Full on Glade Guard build with Drycha. Alright, that's pretty fun. Bats are gonna be huge here. Same with the dogs. Let's go ahead and get some halberds to move on across. Then pull back with my zombies a bit, just so Call Harmon doesn't get this nice defensive formation. Drycha taking a little bit of poke damage from the gunnery wights. Classic gunnery wight play. And then I can probably just swarm this cavalry, I think, and do pretty well there. So here we go. I can now move up with my army and then try and get this big ol' engagement going on happening. I'm actually going to trap the cavalry, trap the archers over here, and then actually move on to the side to catch a few more archers. There we go. That should work out pretty well. Gunnery Whites, I do take a bit of damage. I can get a fairly nice scab scrath onto those guys, however. Bombers getting in their damage, and the scurvy dogs are going to be paying their dividends. Here we go. Felbats are doing fairly well. Kraken's pull looks like that should help me out quite a bit. Felbats just distracting for my dogs. That is the optimal situation for me, and it looks like most of these archers are indeed getting bogged down. It's not a lot of cavalry here. That's definitely going to be a rather nice plus for me. Some glade riders. I'm going to get munched on by a few scurvy dogs. That's very good. And then I'm thinking about getting a Silostra summon here now while pulling my gunnery whites into a safer position. Wild riders against my dogs. We'll see how that plays out as my knights move on up. The gunnery whites, they do take quite a bit of damage from these archers. That's a little bit unfortunate, but all in all, I think with my good old doggos, I should be in a decent position. We have routed off yet more archers. My knights, they do continue to survive, and here we go. Some of these cavalry forces are getting routed off now too. That's going to be huge for me. Scurvy dogs just running around, doing lots of damage. My knights are faring quite well, but sadly it looks like we will be losing gunnery white number 1. And I'm going to have to try to recover from that loss, as the wood elves actually do have a fairly nice lead in the balance of power. I'm going to have to keep a close eye on that. But the knight summons are doing really well against the archers. Just constantly pushing them back. Let's try and get a bit of damage onto the wild riders first though, since I think the archers are probably my biggest threat in this situation. So I have a couple of zombies left, and I have all my dogs, and they're gonna have to be hard carrying it in this situation, as the wood elves, they don't have a ton of cavalry left, so that's gonna be very nice for me. So here we go, 4 dogs and a dream. It's going to be a rather close battle, I imagine, as these Glade Guard do begin advancing. I don't have any more knights. That's very unfortunate, but the dogs are going to be moving on up. Silostra pulling away from all of these archers. She doesn't really want to engage there. That would be rather bad. And we'll see. We'll have to see. Silostra is at full HP. That is going to be very nice. I do have another Kraken's pull, so if the cavalry does clump up, that's going to be really nice for me. And I don't really want to engage these archers just yet. It seems like it could get a little bit dicey as we head on into the late game. I do have another scab scrath, however. And here we go. We're going to see if that cavalry killing plays off as we go on into the late game. Perhaps a Kraken's pull over here onto the archer should get some nice damage on top of them. Gunnery White moving in to hit Drycha. Silostra just sort of moving around, trying to get a nice position. And then the scurvy dogs, we're going to be aiming for the cavalry now. Gonna try to take them out. Let's go ahead and pull these dogs back so that I get a nice charge on over there. Silostra taking a little bit of heat, but look at that. The cavalry, they're getting hit themselves. I just need to make sure that that Silostra actually does manage to survive here. The dogs pulling away, being as annoying as possible. Gunnery White just fighting against Drycha. We'll give him magic damage, and no, we won't. That's not super efficient. And then here we go. The dogs are diving in onto the archers. We'll see how well they do as Silostra continues to retreat. Wild riders are definitely going to be a bit of a pain, however. I don't know if I can take them out. It's definitely going to be quite close. Big pendulum hits my dogs, however. Lots and lots of damage on them. That's not great. But let's see. These ones are distracting the wild riders. That's very good. Man, oh man, are my dogs damaged, though. That's going to be very scary. Silostra's getting extremely low from the archers, and I think the wood elves are likely going to have it done. Let's go ahead and spiteful shot on the gunnery white, perhaps. Let's try it, but Silostra, she goes down. The dogs are getting beat up, and I think Call Harmon will be able to get a win here against the dreaded Silostra rush. It's gonna be well played. And that's gonna be it. The final game. Whew. Scary match, but in the end, it looks like the mass Glade Guard play is gonna pull it out here. I think if I had managed to kill off these Wild Riders faster, it could have gone better. But this is gonna be a hard build to deal with so much cavalry. So, GG, well played to Call Harmon. I hope you do well in the rest of the tournament. It is definitely a rough matchup for Coast. And if you look at the damage on the gunnery whites, it didn't do amazing either. But we'll have to see next time. GG, guys. I think I will be closing out the stream now. If you want to see the build, here it is. I was considering a deck gunner style of play, but I was hoping Call Harmon would go for the kite. So I think that's about it. And yeah, I will see you guys next time, maybe in the ECL finals or the My Son HW tournament. With all that out of the way, I will wait a few seconds for the stream to catch up so that I can close it off. It should be like banners and stuff showing up now.